Hello and welcome to the Voice of Business, the official podcast of the Gwinnett Chamber. I'm your host, Nick Messino, the President and CEO of the Gwinnett Chamber and Partnership Gwinnett. We are broadcasting from the Gas South District in the Business RadioX studios. At the Gwinnett Chamber, our mission is to champion business, and by serving over 2,000 members, we have become the leading advocate and innovative resource for businesses to connect and thrive. Hello and welcome to the kickoff of the Voice of Business with the Gwinnett Chamber. And our topic today is She Means Business. And I'm here with two amazing executives, Aysha Abdullatif and the one and only Kim Hartsock. Ladies, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Our pleasure. We're really excited to have both of you here. Kim, why don't you start off? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Kim Hartsock. I'm the managing partner of Warren Averett's Atlanta office. Warren Averett is a regional CPA advisory firm. We have offices all over the Southeast, and I lead the Atlanta market. I live here in the Gwinnett area with my husband and 3 children, and I'm on the board of the Gwinnett Chamber and love this community and excited to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. By the way, maybe you'll hit on it later that you're actually a podcast expert.
Sure.
That would be great to hear.
I'll promote it.
Good, very good. Aysha, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Aysha Abdullatif. I'm a co-owner of Spherion Northeast Atlanta. We are a full-service staffing and recruiting firm that specializes in temporary, temp to perm, and permanent placements. We have a national reach, but for us, local is our superpower. So to come back full circle after moving 7 times in 7 years, I'm a native Gwinnetian, and being back here with my husband and my 2 kids on the same street I grew up on
Oh
is
my
where
gosh.
I moved back
Wow.
to. And so it's full circle to be able to establish both Spherion Northeast Atlanta here in the community, because we were new to Northeast Atlanta, even though, again, Spherion has that broader national network. And then on the personal side, too, to be able to bring my family back to Gwinnett is really special. And here I am with the Gwinnett Chamber, and like I said, totally full circle. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. I just learned so much about you in that one little session there. That was great. Very cool. Where'd you go to high school?
Brookwood.
Oh, okay, Brookwood.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw some fellow alumni at my first Chambers event,
Yeah.
so that was kind of
awesome.
cool.
There are a lot of Brookwood people
There are.
still staying close to home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, hey, it's a great place to raise a family and also build a business.
My parents lived in Brookwood Plantation.
Yeah.
And we could do a podcast, by the way, on just people from Brookwood.
Yes.
It's like some of the most famous people from Gwinnett County.
Did you go to Brookwood?
I did not go to Brookwood. That's another story about how I wrestled the Brookwood wrestling team.
Okay.
I'll tell you that story later. That was exciting.
Okay.
But literally,
Maybe my brother was on.
the co-founder of Airbnb, the
Really?
current CEO of Cisco Systems.
Wow.
I mean, it's just amazing.
There was a Super Bowl commercial last year where someone was wearing a Brookwood T-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole alumni group was just on fire.
The producer of that commercial went to Brookwood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, so that's another topic
fact.
for another
Yeah.
day. So we've got some things to talk about, ladies. And so we're going to start off with you obviously both, I just heard, families, really impressive careers. So you're very, very busy professionals. How do you balance both your career and your personal life and passions? Kim, you want to start?
Yeah, I do not like the word or term work-life balance. It's just something that I honestly think it kind of set us up for failure when that became such a hot buzzword. I really prefer to think of it as integration. And I got some advice really early in my career that said, find the things that you're interested in and you're good at, and try to connect those as best you can with where you live, where you have your kids, all those things need to be integrated. And so really that's how I got involved with the Chamber. Was I live in Gwinnett, my kids go to school in Gwinnett, I go to church in Gwinnett, but my business life was really focused in Metro Atlanta, a broader reach. And so I was like, how do I get connected? Well, I get connected through the Chamber. Through that, yes, I'm there for my business. I'm there to promote my business and make sure people know what we do and how we can help them. But through that, I've formed friendships that allow me to integrate my personal life with my business. My husband has gotten to know those families. Our kids know each other. We travel together. We run into each other. It's people that we go to church with. And I think that just makes you feel like you're not having to stretch yourself. I think it makes you feel like, you're already active where you are interested in being active. And so it doesn't feel like you're trying to fill every cup up. You can do it kind of one time and hit all of those things that are important.
Absolutely. I love that. I agree with you. Balance is a horrible word for, especially I feel like for women and women in the workspace. So I don't look at it as balance. I look at planning and trying to prioritize my week, my month. I'm not really good with long-term planning, but that's what my partner's there for. And I look at just trying to be mindful of what my week looks like from a professional side and from a personal side too. So I plan downtime, I plan me time, I turn off all my notifications when I'm with my family so that my phone is not buzzing from LinkedIn or Instagram or email. I check it when needed. But for me, I just find pockets of time when I need to step away. And then, like I said, being present. That's, I think, just a part of being a business owner.
Well, I think those are great answers. Can we all agree we'll stop calling it life work
Yes.
life integration?
Yes.
Integration,
I'm integrating.
yes.
I'm going to tell my wife tonight.
Yes.
Let's do some integration.
Let's do some integration.
Well, I think that balance, and I agree with you that it really affects, I think, working women a lot more because of the pressures that are put on us to be a good wife and a good mom. And I think it sets you up when you think of balance, everything has to be level and equal.
Right.
And that's just impossible.
Right.
So you could look at balance if you want as a whole, in your whole life, you should feel balanced. But there's not a day or a week that's going to go by that you're going to feel like I equally gave of myself to everyone who needs me.
Right.
It's impossible. And so I think if you think of it in a way of how can I connect things, and yes, I agree with you, be present, where your feet are, and you work with your spouse. My husband and I own a small business together, and sometimes we have to say, okay, no business tonight, right? We're at the dinner table. My 3 kids all work at our restaurant, and so sometimes it's like the whole family wants to have a conversation about business at dinner, and I'm like, let's just have family dinner, So you have to put boundaries in place so that it doesn't overtake your whole life.
Yes, absolutely agree.
Kim, is there a term that someone might use that is the like
a code word?
A code, like we're like my wife always is like
We
phones
tried
down,
that.
phones down, and we're all like last text message. So is there a code word?
No, we need to come up with one.
Okay.
We tried a code word. Our code word, Nasser is going to laugh. Our code word was potato. and then people started to catch on to when we would just say potato. And then we didn't stick to it too, because you continue on. So let me know if code words work for you guys.
Okay.
We
I'll
tried
bring it up at the family dinner table.
Yeah,
We'll see.
but the boundaries in the sense of like, okay, after 7 o'clock, I don't want to keep talking about X, business case or client or something like that. Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to turn it off. I can't imagine all 5 of you working at the restaurant, owning and working in the restaurant. That would be very hard to turn off.
Yeah, that would be. Especially with restaurant hours too.
Because part of your dinner table discussion is how was your day?
Right.
Yeah.
What was your high-low, maybe?
Right.
And you're like, it can't be about work.
Yes. Sometimes there is a place for that.
Sure.
And I do think it's been great for our kids to really have a front row seat of what it's like to be an entrepreneur. It looks a little more glamorous on social media than sometimes it really is. So I think for our kids to see the true amount of time that it takes to build your own business. I mean, my husband started this from scratch, and so that's been really great for them. It also, I think every person should work in hospitality at some point in time, because it really teaches you client service. When somebody is giving you an earful and you're just smiling and saying, thank you, how can I help you? How can I make that better? So I think it's been great overall, but it can consume your life, and you have to be able to set some boundaries to say, okay, now we're going to talk about personal things at home, not just work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Kim, why don't we mention the restaurant since...
Okay, yes. So my husband's restaurant is Socks Love Barbecue in Cumming.
And I'm going to personally say I'm not a big barbecue guy, but I tried the brisket. It's the best brisket I've ever had. I brought it to my dad's 80th birthday party. My mom was like, "That's too much brisket." There was none left.
No such thing.
It's so good.
Good. I'm glad that you liked it.
So this really bleeds well into the way you all just answered this in our discussion about integration. But what small changes have you made that you believe have made a big impact on the development as a business leader?
2 things for me. One was I've learned to be open-minded, and And when I say being open-minded as a business owner, 10 years ago, I did not imagine myself in the place I am now. So to be open-minded to new opportunities, be open-minded to new connections and relationships. And I think going into any event or any meeting or any space, you have to be open to what opportunities may come your way. And so to keep an open mind across the board has been really helpful. And then the second one is minding the details. So for me, I care about the day-to-day details, the minutia. It's your day-to-day actions. When they say the small details are what roll into bigger changes, whether it's on an individual level or on a team level. When I think about my team, I care about the details and I care about the day-to-day actions. And that has helped in that larger growth. And we've been able to double our team size just in the past year alone by looking at some of those smaller details and kind of asking those questions. And that really common saying, inspect what you expect. You can't have expectations that don't match what you're doing on a daily or weekly basis. So that for me has been really powerful.
Yeah, I think for me, so I've been with my firm for 21 years. So almost my entire career, I've been at the same place. And when you forge a path upward on the career trajectory at the same place, you have to change and evolve as your role changes. And I think when I became the managing partner in 2020, yes, January of 2020 is when I took that role.
That was fun.
Yeah. Who knew what was going to happen 3 months later, right? I think some changes that I had to learn of being the leader was that you are the leader and you are ultimately the one that's responsible for making the decisions that are good for the firm, for your team. And sometimes that isn't what's going to win the popular vote. And I had to learn to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. I had to learn that it's okay to seek others' advice or opinion or counsel, but at the end of the day, it's your job to make the decision that is sometimes really hard. And so I think for me, it was a big change, but I think it was, it evolved over time, was just being okay with letting go of the expectation that you needed to get everyone on board with every decision. It is hard sometimes because those are hard decisions, and it's easy to armchair quarterback, right?
Sure.
When you when it isn't you that has to be stuck with the decision.
Kim, as you were answering the question, I thought about the person that was so happy that you took the managing partner role of 2020 was the 2019 managing partner. They were just
He was retired playing golf on the coast of Georgia. So yes, he's very happy.
He was like, I retired at the right moment.
100%. Yes.
And Kim, within about 6 months, we both were elevated to a leadership role. And I was thinking about my predecessor. He was probably very happy to have retired the summer before.
Yes.
And
the timing couldn't have worked out better for those.
For that.
You go and figure out virtual networking and programming.
Right. Yes, all the things, right?
We're still on Zoom calls saying you're on mute.
Yes.
You're on mute.
Yes. 4 years later.
We still haven't figured it out.
I'm bad with that too. I just wish somebody would auto do.
No, we've all done it. I've definitely done it this year.
I did it this week already and last week. Well, thank you for sharing that, both of you. Do you have mentors in your life? Kim, you can answer this first. And how's that made a difference in your career?
Absolutely. I have mentors, have had mentors. I spent some time a few years ago and kind of tracked people that had mentored me from like my career at different points in time, how you met that person and what value they brought to you. And I think different mentors are important at different times because they bring different things to the table. I think it's important for maybe younger people that are listening to this, younger people that are starting their careers, to think about the difference in a mentor and an advocate. There's a difference, right? A mentor is really someone that you can trust to give you really good, solid advice. I try to find someone that is at least one step ahead of me in my career, right? Like as a working mom, I want someone who's raised kids and has done that to be able to say, okay, looking back, what would you tell yourself about that? What would you do again? What would you not do again? Someone who's been in a leadership position that's transitioned, right? You're always trying to find someone that's one step ahead of you. And they're going to tell you the things maybe that you don't even want to hear, but that you need to hear. An advocate is somebody who's going to advocate for you, right? They have a seat at the table that your name needs to be brought up at, and is going to speak truth to when your name is the topic that comes up, is going to be able to advocate for you. And I think you've got to identify those two people, to be able to know who those are. Do you have those people? And now that I am in the position I'm in, I have to recognize that I need to be that person too. And so a lot of times when someone wants to meet with me, I'm like, what is it you hope to gain out of this relationship or this conversation? Are you looking for a mentor for some advice, or are you looking for someone to be an advocate for you? Because I need to know what your expectation is so that I can make sure I'm helping you.
Oh yeah, I love that. And I agree with you. When you were talking about the younger, to tell your younger self, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking of myself in my early and mid 20s. I so desperately wanted to find a mentor. I would go to conferences, and I thought, like, you just have to, you just pick one, right? And I got shut down. Like when I would ask sometimes these senior businesswomen, and then by the time I reached my late 20s, I realized I had 3 fantastic mentors for different things. One being, nonprofit service, one that was a previous client or a previous manager. And those relationships have meant so much and helped me grow so very much, because a mentor needs to be honest and give honest feedback in a neutral way, and I find that to be so valuable. And aside from mentors too, I also find it to be, to identify people that you find inspiring, or that you admire, or that you respect, because that's a huge component of it too. And I agree with you, Kim. Now being in a space as a mentor myself, it's asking those right questions, and I remember my younger self too. If someone's asking for coffee and you don't feel like there's a business value for yourself, don't turn it down, because that person may need that more than you know. They may need to just sit down with someone and get some advice, and to be able to bring that forward is so special to me right now, when I remember, the back in the day self that was desperately searching for a mentor. And mentors and mentorship, I feel like should evolve and come naturally, right? And that's also something that I found that I had to learn over time as well, is you can't go out and just pick one. It has to be a kind of a natural energy, or synergy maybe is a better word.
I love where we just went with that. I'm curious, in your mentee-mentor relationships with people, are they formal or are they informal? And what I mean is, the person that you may know well or don't know at all says, I admire you, will you be my mentor? Or is it it's happened through just relationship building?
Well, I would say, I think it started off more informally, and then I dropped the word mentor in one time at lunch, and I didn't realize how special it was to the person on the other side too. She was like, oh, wow, yeah, you're my mentee. You're right, Aysha. and so, again, like I said, I think it has to start more informally, whether it's in a professional space or a personal space, because I have a lot of great friendships with women that I look up to that are years ahead of me and established. So I think it's a mix, but it has to start off maybe a little bit more naturally, and then when you drop that mentor or mentee word in, then you realize, like, okay, yeah, this is something that is really meaningful. I feel like for both sides of that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've had both. I've had formal, our firm has tried different variations of assigning mentors or coaches, or however you want to frame it. I've found the value most in the ones that have happened more organically, and it usually starts with like the ones that have stayed in my life for a long period of time, or people that I admired for whatever purpose, and said, can we go, can I buy you a cup of coffee? And it just organically has grown into somebody that I really trust and respect, and want to seek their counsel when I'm going to make a very difficult decision. And I don't think I've ever said to them, would you be my mentor? But it's definitely someone that I view as a mentor. And when I actually became the managing partner, the first day that I sat in my seat, I actually thought of the 5 people that I felt like really helped me get there. And I wrote them a card. And I wanted them to hear that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important to let people know.
Oh, yeah.
How important that I feel you have been to helping me achieve my goals. And each one of them responded, how touched they were, and that they didn't feel that they had that much of an impact. You know, it's kind of shocking to them to receive that card. And so I think it's don't just assume they know that. You know, don't be afraid to let them, you know, give them their roses, you know, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. The recognition is very important. Agreed.
Kim, I had heard you had done that like a year later from around the time you did it. And I was immediately jealous. I was like, why didn't I do that? What a brilliant idea. And I was like, it's been too long now.
No, it's not.
It's not, right? I should do it tomorrow.
Yes.
So great answer. By the way, I'll just share with you, I have heard some of the funniest stories of someone who does not know someone at all ask this person that they've admired from afar to be their mentor. And I think the honest thing is, I've heard people say they've said no. They've declined the opportunity. And because you brought up the younger people, just surround yourself with people. Try to be around other people. Yeah. There's so much opportunity to learn. And it doesn't need a formal thing. It doesn't need to have a title or a tagline.
Yeah, and I think you said that it also to find people that inspire you, right? Like Sarah Blakely is hugely inspiring to me. As a Kat Cole is an amazing. I mean, these are two women that I think are just powerful business entrepreneur leaders.
Yes.
They don't know who I am from Adam, and I've never physically met them, but they have been very open and authentic and transparent through their sharings to where I feel like they're able to mentor many young women and men through their platform, right? And so there's different levels of that. And I have great female friends too that provide a tremendous amount of support and I go to for advice. So I think sometimes we try to make it more formal than it really needs to be. And I agree with you, Nick, like getting involved in the chamber, coming to events, that room is filled with people that can give you amazing advice and counsel and have been there and done that. And sometimes it just takes, you know, listening to these podcasts to learn about people that you didn't even know that you can go and get just as much inspiration from, right? Like I'll give a shout out to Lisa Winton, who I think is right there with Kat Cole and Sarah Blakely in terms of being a powerful woman who is doing amazing things. And she is someone who I've admired and, you know, gotten to know. So I think, and I wouldn't have known her had I not been involved in the chamber. So I think sometimes we make it bigger than it really needs to be.
I totally agree. And with programs like Moxie, like the awards programs, we're putting some incredible people. And by the way, we're doing this right now with the two of you, right? There are people that will hear this and think, wow, these ladies are amazing. They're going to grab something from this that will affect them in a positive way. So thank you for being mentors to all the listening audience. But again, speaking of mentorship advice, do you have one piece of advice that you like to give to younger women starting their career? Or another way of saying, is there something you wish you would have done differently that some past mentor could have given you that would have made you better?
Yeah, I mean, I think first finding someone early that can give you that solid counsel and advice. But I think it's not something I would change or do different, but it's something I wish someone would have told me sooner, is really get to know who you are, get to know yourself, right? Like know your strengths, know what value you bring, what is unique about you, and stop trying to fit into a box and trying to spend all your time changing these weaknesses, because some of those things you can't change, right? Like I'm never going to be a quiet person. So I love to talk. I am extroverted. I am a CPA. Would you describe most CPAs as being extroverted, love to talk to people, meet people, be on podcasts? No. And I felt like a fish out of water. But luckily I had a mentor early in my career that said, get really good at what they pay you to do, and then you get to go do the stuff you want to do. And that was huge in terms of, okay, well, I know what they want me to do, right? Like I know how we make money. I know how I can add value. And so I got really good at that. And then I said, hey, can I go, do this? Can I go be on this board? Can I go speak at this? Can I go, lead college recruiting efforts? All these things that I wanted to do to be out and about. And I was able to do it because they trusted me and I was adding value.
When I think back and I think of what would be the most helpful piece of advice, I would say it comes back to having that self-confidence and having that belief system in yourself. If you want other people to believe in you, it starts with you, as cheesy as that sounds. Because I meet a lot of young women that seem unsure or a little hesitant. I don't have the years experience in the field I want to be in, or I don't know as much as the person next to me, or I didn't go to the same school. None of that matters. I'm a true believer that you have to bring forward that confidence in yourself. No one is the most extroverted person, because I agree, I'm quite extroverted and I could have a conversation with inanimate object. But no one is going to feel 100% comfortable walking into a room they don't know anyone, or walking into an interview, or whatever that space may look like. So you have to it starts with that confidence for yourself, because you're going to encounter speed bumps. There's no straight path forward. There's no perfect, smooth transition with anything. And I'm learning the hard way sometimes is the way that it has to happen. So to have that belief in yourself, to be able to speak up, to be able to voice your opinion, and to know that every person, every woman, it all matters, and to be able to share your voice, that is really important. And then the second part of it, even though I was nowhere near financial literacy, is I always say you have to advocate for yourself. You have to negotiate, you have to do your research, and you have to know what you're walking into, because when you don't have that confidence, or you don't have that experience, or you don't have that kind of backstory or background of what you may be getting into professionally or personally, do your research, right? You research a vacation, you research a company, whatever it may be, that will make you feel more powerful to know that, okay, I've got a little bit more information for myself. But I wouldn't do anything differently, because it was all really rocky, and here I am with you guys, and so it all worked out the way it was supposed to be.
Isn't that true with it's all the good, the bad, the damage, the pain becomes who you are, and it was your path.
Exactly. Like, okay, 15 years, okay, that sucked. That was not the best. I didn't handle all of this, whatever it may look like. Right now, where I'm sitting with you guys, it all shook out the way it was supposed to shake out.
I'm just going to take this second to I think we are imperfect beings, and you have to actually be okay with it, Kim. That's kind of what it's like. You made those mistakes.
Yes.
And it's for younger people that are literally lamenting about they did the wrong thing, or said the wrong thing, or had the wrong expression on their face.
Yeah.
That's okay. You could always correct it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just don't do that again.
Yes.
Right.
Learn from the mistake.
Yes. And I love to say, a bad decision or a bad mistake makes a good story. So I've got a lot of good stories from a lot of bad decisions. So yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you for sharing, both of you. Well, mentioning the Moxie Awards again, they're coming up this month. Our speaker is Monica Pearson, which I just recently read this comment about her: who is more Atlantan than Monica Pearson? And honestly, the answer is I can't think of anyone.
Exactly.
I mean, she is so Atlantan.
Watching her, I'm so excited for the Moxie Awards.
Yeah, she's like a legit celebrity. And I feel a little bit bad for the generation below us that didn't grow up with her like we did. Yeah. And I get giddy. Like, it's Monica Pearson right there. I'm so excited, because I think I'm going to get to be able to sit with her at the same table.
Okay. Yeah, my husband asked if he could come. He's like, I want to come hear her.
Suzanne, who works remote as well, they can carpool.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I invited her. She still hasn't responded. Hopefully she'll join us.
Suzanne, if you're listening.
Come on, Suzanne, join us. Okay, she's going to be talking about unapologetic empowerment, embracing your true self in a world of expectations. How do you both embrace yourself in your professional life?
I mean, I kind of laugh at this question, because anyone who knows me knows that I don't know any other thing but just be myself. I'm what you see is what you get kind of girl. I would never be good at politics, because I don't have a poker face. Like, I just kind of just react to what I'm hearing or thinking. So I think it goes back to what we just said. Knowing who you are and accepting that that's how you were created, and instead of spending all your time trying to change that, figure out how you can use that for good. Our pastor used to say these are like thumbprints. Everyone's thumbprint is unique. And so, like, you were made unique. And so what is it that you bring to the table, and how can you affect change by using that? And I think what I would really want people to know is don't get so caught up in this idea of perfection And I think maybe the generation before us didn't do us a lot of favors by not sharing how difficult things were, right? Yeah. And social media certainly doesn't help with that, because people have these lives that are so glamorous according to Facebook and Instagram. And I think what we can do as leaders is be authentic about it and be vulnerable and share our mistakes and let people see that we aren't perfect and that we do still make mistakes. And that way that we start to change that to where people won't be scared to do something for the fear that they will fail, right? I mean, most of our learnings have come through some sort of failure.
Sure.
And I think the best thing we can do for that generation coming behind us is let them learn that's okay. It's okay to stretch yourself and go for something, and you might not get it the first time, but you're going to learn from it, you're going to grow from it, and you're going to be better so that the next attempt you have, you're going to give it a better shot.
I love that, Kim, and I couldn't agree more. And I also, too, just to kind of add on to that, going back to what I was saying about the self-confidence and the belief in yourself, when I think of how to be true to myself, I've had to learn, again, learning the hard way, not to be hesitant and to understand that both my perspective and other perspectives, everyone has a unique perspective, and it matters. And I think I used to be more hesitant because, again, maybe having a different or a multicultural upbringing or not feeling the diversity that maybe wasn't as established or wasn't as seen back in the 90s, early 2000s. And now I'm so grateful, even for our own community. Gwinnett has changed a lot, that landscape, and I'm very sensitive to hearing different perspectives and being able to add my own, as opposed to not feeling hesitant or not shying away from being able to share my voice. Because like you had said earlier, maybe not everyone's going to agree with it, but the hope is to have that mutual respect, and I feel like that has grown and been embraced a lot more nowadays with those different conversations around, again, we're going to have a different opinion, we're going to have a different background, a different upbringing, but to have that diversity and to have that mindfulness to be grateful to have those different perspectives and to be able to have an opportunity or create your own opportunity to share yours.
I think it's also, though, just to add a kind of caveat to that, the younger generation here, every generation thinks the next generation is going to mess everything up, right? They think they're lazy. The boomers think Gen X is lazy, and Gen X thinks the millennials are lazy, and millennials think Gen Z is lazy. We know that.
Yeah.
But I do think that at the end of the day, it goes back to still knowing that what you're there to do. The company has a mission, the company has goals,
right,
and we are all there to meet those and to perform. You need to figure out what you bring to the table, what's unique to you and value, right, but that doesn't change the fact that we're still there for a purpose and to work hard. So I think sometimes we can get so caught up in but this is how I am and I like this, and you have to understand what is the purpose of the company and what was I hired to do. And as long as I'm doing that, then adding my unique, gift to that is going to work. But you can't be so, it's make sure you know the priority of that.
Kim, so easy for you to say as a Gen Z.
No, I'm Gen X.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, my mistake. I know you're Gen X.
Yes.
But we're all Gen X,
yes,
I think, at the table.
Yes.
You might be an older millennial?
I think I'm an older millennial.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm Gen X. Yes, the boomers thought we were going to mess everything up. Probably still do think we're messing everything up.
You know how Leadership Gwinnett, they say it's the best class ever?
Yes.
I think we're the best generation ever.
I agree. We're the smallest generation.
Well, it's also true because each of the generations ahead of us and behind us have 5 extra years in their calculation.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the purpose of that? But anyway, I love what you just said. I don't know if the 2 generations below us would think the same thing. I think we have a certain unique experience, and that's something we can explore. Generations. That's a future podcast.
It'd be a good podcast.
Oh yeah,
it would be great.
It's interesting, I think, in my generation, because when I see Gen Z, and I'm like, they're so bold, and if I give feedback, they want to just give me their own feedback, right back to me, and that's not how I was mentored and taught, and the way I, earned my earn my stripes, so to speak. So it's definitely an interesting topic and definitely potential for future discussion, because there does have to be a balance, and there does have to be that team collaboration piece of it, as well as that individual integration.
Right.
There's no experts. We're all learning right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have more generations in the workforce than we ever have.
Right.
And when people talk about diversity and inclusion, you have to think about ages.
That's right.
And the diversity of thought is the theme of what I thought I heard you saying. There's every example. The more diverse a board is, the more diverse an organization is, the better the results.
Yeah.
And it's about race, it's about gender, and it's about age. And it's a really interesting time to be a leader. I'm actually loving it right now. It's really interesting. Kim, you'd mentioned that what you learned from failures, and we can learn so much in our failures. I think we all were agreeing to that. And my job here today is not to share other podcasts, but there's a fantastic podcast, and of course I'm drawing a blank on the name of the podcast, and it is How You Built This.
Oh, yes. I love
by
that.
Guy Raz. It's
Yes,
been
I
around
love
forever. And I literally tell people, the university system won't like this, but skip your MBA, listen to 50 of those,
Yes.
and you basically have an MBA. And then what stood out to me about the 10th one I had listened to was these leaders learned more from their failures. That's what they wanted to talk about on the podcast. Now, I have listened to over 50 of them, and that is thematically, I'm like waiting, because they're immediately going to start talking about what didn't go well,
Right.
and how they learned and how they were better.
Same with Masterclass. I have a subscription to Masterclass, and I love listening to those leaders. And there's talk about diversity. You know, you've got former presidents, business leaders, athletes. I mean, it's very diverse. But any topic that you feel that you're facing as a leader, and you think no one's ever been here before, yes, they have. And there's probably a podcast or a masterclass or something that you can go listen to hear someone else's perspective. So, I mean, the amount of information at our fingertips right now is pretty insane.
It's incredible. I literally think back to like, man, if I had all of this in my 20s, would I have done something differently? But it is incredible, and shout out to podcasts, because you can literally find a topic and build an understanding. And I feel like now there's almost no excuses for ignorance, because you can really go and seek the knowledge that you need.
Absolutely.
And when I was
said.
going back to doing your research and just feeling better prepared as an individual to confidently move forward, that all starts with what we have access to.
And I'll plug my podcast while we're
Yes.
plugging podcasts. So if anyone wants to listen to accounting, tax, just general business topics, we have a podcast called The Wrap, WRAP, and it's the Warren Averett podcast. So, and it's wherever you can listen to podcasts.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. I was going to actually, you just took my ending away, because we had teased it earlier.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that. Really was amazing chatting with both of you. I really enjoyed it. And so we're going to wrap up today. Thank you so much. We look forward to all the feedback we're going to get from all of the listeners. And I hope to see you at Moxie programs throughout the year, and specifically the Moxie Awards coming up just around the corner.
Thanks
I'll
for
be
having
there.
me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
I'll be there.
Thank you for joining us on The Voice of Business. Our episodes are available anytime on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. You can also catch our episodes online at gwinnettchamber.org/podcast. Be sure to follow us on social at Gwinnett Chamber to see when our next episode is out. Until next time, I'm Nick Messino with the Gwinnett Chamber's Voice of Business.